Thank you. I'm Oscar Wendel. I work with Dubai World Trade Center and put on the show the Future Blockchain Summit that's happening in October. This is the 6th year. And this year we're going to go very big on gaming, Web3 gaming in particular. I just wanted to comment on what you're saying. It's impressive what you've achieved. You told me 75,000 users per day in
That's right,
your metaverse. That's one of the biggest. And I'm reflecting on what you're saying here. You're recreating social environments, clubs, concerts, meeting new people. But when we were speaking the other day, I was reflecting on what has made other social communities very successful, like Facebook, unlike Friendster and MySpace. Friendster and MySpace had the same concept of meeting strangers from around the world, whereas Facebook, the typical user will have maybe 500 friends, and these will be people that they know in the real world, or people that know other people in their circle, right? So I think a big question is, like, what does the metaverse serve? It is about enhancing the social interaction that you have with existing people. In the same way that chatting, like, I think the big opportunity with metaverse is that you can socialize with people in ways that are outside the social norms that you have face-to-face. Like if you're communicating with a girl you just met or with a colleague late at night on WhatsApp, it's very different from how you're communicating face-to-face. And the metaverse, I think, is just such an opportunity to experiment and step out of boundaries. I just wanted to hear, before we move on, what you think about that as you are building metaverses. I think an important question is, what is the metaverse then, and does it require goggles? I think the ideal metaverse is where you can interact with people virtually, for instance, with screens in a room like the Star Trek holodeck, where you can recreate any environment and you can't tell the difference between who is there physically and who is there virtually. The recent development with Google Starline, for instance, and it's more towards a vision of a real metaverse in that sense. And to me, a metaverse is not just living in a virtual world. That is the interaction with people and having digital assets that are traded, and is a parallel world to your real world, not a replacement of or an alternative world. Well, just some reflections on that. I think there's very little commercial incentive for the studios to have interoperability. That is one thing. But when you look at these digital assets, they're only valuable to show off to a community that actually relates to that digital asset. I'm guessing that if you're a Fortnite player and you've got some digital asset that is desirable and impressive, it doesn't translate to another community necessarily, where they don't know what's being alluded to. I mean, that goes for every brand name in the world, right? I mean, if you never heard of it, there's no premium to be charged. So I know, like in the world of gaming and metaverse and trading, it is assumed that there's going to be a big market for interoperability, but I think fundamentally the first principles should be questioned. Well, I think, we are here at the Dubai Esports Festival, and what's the connection to metaverse, right? I think esports and gaming is about entertainment, and metaverse is a lot about commerce. I like a quote from our friend Paul at Game Changers. He says, "There's no such thing as play to earn, there's play to have fun." And what I find fascinating with the metaverse is that there's so much money being poured into this, but the games are getting worse. What is that about? You know, like, at the end of the day, we need to look at what is the demand out there, and what's the function that's being served. And should you necessarily connect esports and gaming with essentially gambling? And if so, I think that should be addressed.